Hello, lovely viewers, and welcome back to our storytelling session. Today's tale is one of shock, betrayal, and sweet, sweet revenge. Picture this: you come home early to surprise your beloved spouse, only to find them entangled with someone else in your own bed. It's the stuff of nightmares, isn't it? But what happens next is a plot twist you won't see coming. Join me as we delve into the story titled I came home early to surprise my wife and found her in bed with another man. Here's how I got my revenge. What he then came home to was terrifying. He saw his wife in bed with her affair partner, but rather than confronting them, he recorded them for proof, then walked out and ghosted her. Now, she's history. Let's get into today's story to find out what happened. So, I went on a work trip for a week and told my partner of 3 years, ex, that I was coming home on Sunday, but I had actually booked a fly-in yesterday and take her on a surprise date for her birthday, which I otherwise would have missed. I messaged ex happy birthday yesterday morning and asked what she was doing for the day, to which she replied she would be having a wine and movies night with her friend, Y, who lives in our apartment block. I reiterated that I could not wait to be home on Sunday. She said she couldn't wait and that she loved me. It has been really hard to write and relive this, but when I got home, I parked out by the front of the building on the street, and when I walked through the code gate, I couldn't see lights on up by our balcony. I did see Y's lights on, so I assumed X would be at her place. I didn't even have to enter, as her place was on ground level, and I saw through her window she was on her couch watching TV alone. I figured maybe X was out, so I walked up our 3 flights of stairs, and as I approached the door, I could hear it, and my heart just sank. The sound of R&B music, moaning and knocking. The door wasn't even locked, and with the way it's positioned, opening the door gave a direct view of our bedroom. I just slightly opened the door and saw my girlfriend straddled on top of who I instantly recognized to be a guy from the gym we go to. I think what stood out to me more was that it looked like it was unprotected sex, as I could see everything. I quietly closed the door and my soul just felt like it floated out of me. I knew they never heard me or noticed the door. I sat on the step for a good 5 minutes to process. This has always been my worst nightmare, but to literally have it play out exactly how I dreaded, another man in our bed just gripped at the heart. I couldn't cry as it felt so surreal. Was this really happening? Was I dreaming? The continued sounds quickly brought me back to earth. I got up and walked out of the building and towards the front gate. Wyatt spotted me through the window and called out to me and waved, gesturing for me to come over. I do get along very well with her, and in the past she had told X how highly she thought of me as a friend too. She had also openly told X that she found me attractive and asked if I had single friends who were also my nationality, from New Zealand. There had always been chemistry between us the first time I met Y, but that always stayed buried in my mind. I put on a brave face and walked into her apartment. We hugged, and she asked what I was doing home early. I told her I had dates mixed up and wasn't she supposed to be having birthday drinks with X. She seemed confused and told me that X said she was going out for drinks with some of our gym friends. Go figure. I instantly burst out in tears and cried for what felt like forever, and she got quite worried asking what was wrong, did something happen to me, etc. I struggled for words, but blurted out that I had just walked in on the two of them in our bed. Her face turned so white, and she just hugged me and started to cry too. She knew I was a joker, but I think she knew this was no joke. I just started talking out of frustration, saying that I didn't know what to do, that they could be up there all night, and that this was my nightmare. We had no issues in our relationship other than her lack of interest in sex once every 6 weeks. It's a wonder I lasted 3 years with her, and I had accepted that a long time ago. Y laughed through her tears and told me she had always been single and not had sex the entire time she knew me, and joked that maybe we could both use it. That actually made me laugh a bit too, and I hugged her, thanked her, and for a second forgot X was upstairs cheating on me. I asked her if I could stay there for the night as I had nowhere to go, and I slept on the couch. I am still here a day later. I watched the guy leave in the morning and watched in tears when he came back this evening. I'm supposed to be home tomorrow afternoon. I haven't texted X all day, but she hasn't texted me either. Truth be told, the only comfort I have now is with Y. How do I deal with X? Do I walk up there and interrupt? Do I call? Firstly, I want to thank everyone for their views, opinions, and advice. I'm still trying to keep up with reading the comments. I appreciate those saying I should have had a backbone or a spine. To be honest, I'd be saying the same things to someone else. This is my first experience with infidelity, so it was easier to judge until it actually happened to me. Anywho, before I tell you what has happened today, I will answer a few questions. Me. I have my own business and run it end to end by myself. I travel maybe 3 times a year to meet with production facilities and do quality checks for my product. Physically, I am 6 feet 6 inches, 124 kilograms, and I play rugby and have done a lot of boxing, so I can definitely defend myself. However, I do not go around using that. I absolutely tower over that piece of crap guy in every way. I earn a very comfortable living, as does X, so a split will not financially cripple either of us. And we're not married. The tears have been shed. I realize this was a blessing in disguise, and I know what I need to do. Apartment. We split all the bills 50-50 and have 4 months, and a week left on a year-long lease which has both our names on it. We had been actively looking for a home to buy. I guess I dodged a bullet there. Why? What a woman. Aside from her personality, she is absolutely gorgeous. How she is and always has been single, I will never know, and she has not been intimate with anyone in over 3 years, according to X. She has been on my side through it all without saying a cruel word about X. She understands it was a bad thing to do towards me and that it does not involve her. That being said, she has said once X inevitably owns up to it, she will likely stop being friends with her. She has not tried to come onto me like a rebound and has just been super supportive. That alone speaks volumes to her character. X works in a hospital and is very attractive. Nice woman, but can be quite self-centered. In hindsight, we were basically just friends. We have only ever had protected sex because she does not want to get pregnant or go on the pill, and it was once in a blue moon. I guess I just accepted it and got too comfortable in the relationship being what it was. I'm just trying to get my head around how she never even showed signs that she was cheating. I know I'm not perfect, but I have always been good to her, always cooked for her, and did a lot around the house. We went on dates regularly. I told her things about her to make her feel loved, and I always got brushed off after what I thought was a good night. I now question why. If she didn't want me, why did she stay for so long? My plan. I intended to call her this morning to say my flight would be leaving earlier and that could she pick me up at the airport earlier. With the airport being a 40-minute drive away, I would use this time to go up and pack all of my things and rush them to my car. Y said I could put some of it in her spare room. Once X noticed my things missing, she would try to call me, message me, etc., and I would simply respond with a photo of the two of them in bed. After reading comments, I decided the cruelest punishment for her would be to have no closure. I would explain to the property manager my circumstances and go and stay with a friend until I could find a new place. X could cover the rent. She could certainly afford it. I do have the option to stay with Y, but that is way too close to X and I do not want to do anything with Y that could ruin our friendship, even though I know her and I are inevitable. The outcome. I went up very early in the morning and very quietly opened the door. Fortunately, they were asleep on the bed, so I took a photo of them, but it was weird. I almost felt guilty about violating privacy when my entire relationship was violated. I did not feel sad anymore, just angry and betrayed. I noticed his shoes on the floor next to my various, much larger pairs. I decided to take a photo of those and use it first. I figured it would be a more subtle way that she would likely lie about until I hit her with the photo of them in bed. I went back down to Y's and waited around for another hour or so until I was certain X would be awake. I tried to call but got no answer, and twice again to no answer. I looked at Y and we both just knew what was happening. After about a half hour, she called me and sounded very much awake and like everything was very much normal. I tried to put on my normal voice and told her my flight was leaving 2 hours earlier than I thought. I asked if she could collect me at 1 p.m. She said yes and that she loved me, that she was at her parents' for breakfast, and that they said hello. Lie. On that note, her parents love me and will be broken about this. I went and laid down for a few hours to run through what I would get from the apartment. Other than clothes and a few appliances, most of my stuff was already boxed as I knew that if we bought a house, I wanted an easy move. Around midday, I saw X go down to the car park and I gave it a few minutes after she left before I moved my car and went upstairs. It smelled like air freshener and I noticed new sheets and covers on the bed. All the dishes were done. She went to every length to cover up that anyone else had ever been there. It took me all but 10 minutes to gather all of my things. If I forgot anything, I probably didn't care about it. It did feel weird knowing it would be a goodbye to the place I called home, but I felt strong. X sent me a message asking where I was as she was at the arrivals area. I replied and said I was held up and that I would Uber home. Maybe an hour later, a bunch of missed calls and messages came in asking where all of my stuff was and if something had happened. My heart nearly beat out of my chest when I sent the photo of the shoes saying these aren't my size. She had the audacity to reply saying that they were her brother's from when he picked her up to go to mom and dad's. Did I not say she would pull something like that? I didn't even want to discuss it, but I knew she was cornered. So I sent the photo of them in bed and I left it at that. She did not even try to call. I was expecting a wave of calls or texts. In my eyes, that was me leaving her, and I know I could have called her out or caught them in the act and confronted them, but I wanted her to know I knew and that she would never be able to know how or explain herself. I will not tarnish her name as it is not in my nature, and I do not want to ruin her life, but she can live with this forever, although I doubt she has a conscience. I have left Wise as I know X will be down to see her soon, and I met my friends nearby collecting today's rundown to relay to you all. If it were not for Y, this would have been a lot harder, but I know she will sever her friendship with X in the next day or two. I am doing well and looking ahead. This hurt at first, but I'm glad I found out now and not after we bought a home. I have sent an email to the property manager informing her of our sudden split and that she would be covering the rent until the lease ended and that she could keep the bond. I think the pain for X will be when Y and I begin our inevitable relationship. Good for you, OP. Glad to hear that you didn't tolerate any of the crap your ex has put you through and have immediately moved on. You do not need to give her any kind of closure whatsoever. She needs to suffer the consequences for her actions and the pain she has caused you. If I were you, I would not get involved with Y right now. I feel like it is too early for you to do that. Instead, I would call your friends and family, tell them everything that happened, and ask if you can stay with them temporarily for the time being. If you're on a lease with her, then contact your landlord and tell them what happened so that you can get taken off. I wish you the best with your situation, OP. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's story. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's story. If there's a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care, everyone. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Hello, everyone. Today, I have a story that is as heart-wrenching as it is shocking. It's about the complex dynamics of family relationships and the unexpected choices people make. This is Mom passed away, so Dad dumped me at my uncle's house and married his new bride. Get ready for a tale that will keep you on the edge of your seat as we dive into the intricacies of love, acceptance, and standing up for what is right. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into this captivating story. My mother passed away before I was 10. My uncle, mother's elder brother, took me in and raised me because my father had already started a new life and a new family by then. My uncle treated me well, though I'm not sure if my aunt feels the same about me as he did. My uncle and aunt had an only son who's around my age, and what he had, I had it too. For example, if my uncle got my cousin a laptop, he would get me one too, which would be of the same worth. My uncle even got me a car for my 18th birthday, so my cousin also treated me just like his own brother. I'm very grateful to have them in my life. Everything I have and that I am, I owe to them. But unfortunately, my relationship with my uncle has recently hit a slight snag. In my culture, it's usually the parents who will help out with purchasing a home for their sons when they get married. The reason is that people in my culture tend to marry young, but most of the time, we would not have worked long enough to save up enough for even the down payment. For a man not to have a marital home is considered a disadvantage, and the woman's family may not accept a proposed union, so a man having a marital home is very important. In my case, because my mother has passed away and my father is an absent parent, my uncle and aunt are my de facto parents. Indeed, my uncle said he would buy me a marital home, however, he has set a condition for that. I have to change my last name to his. Last names are a big deal in my culture, so this is not something that's taken lightly. My uncle said since he's been like a father to me, rather than my own father, and also as a remembrance to my mother, I should change my last name to his, which is also my mother's. So, basically, no change in my last name equals no marital home. I told him this is an unfair demand because, as I said, last names are a huge deal in my culture, and a change could trigger uncomfortable questions from people. But my uncle insisted that if I refused to change my last name, I would have to buy the marital home on my own, which is impossible because I'm a fresh grad, and it could take years to save up for the down payment. This could seriously set me back in terms of a romantic relationship and future marriage. Because of our disagreement, things between my uncle and I have become awkward. So far, my aunt and cousin have not said anything to me, but a group of close friends I've confided in told me I'm the idiot. I'm surprised by their reaction because other than this, I'd never gone against my uncle. I'm also very thankful to my uncle and what he's done for me, and I would gladly take up responsibility alongside my cousin to take care of him in his old age. It's just that I don't think I should be forced into making a fundamental identity change and be punished for not doing it. Am I the idiot? So, do I understand this correctly? You refused to change your last name to your uncle's last name, also your mother's last name, who took care of you since you were 10 and treated you like his own son just because you're afraid of uncomfortable questions from random people. Yeah, sounds like you're the idiot. I imagine Opie's culture values some names more than others, as some names would be associated with a higher class, which sucks and makes Opie the idiot, as he's more worried about what people think of him than grateful for his uncle's generosity. Someone who raised you like their own for your entire life wants to give you upwards of $250,000, and the only condition is that you change your name to the family name, which is also your mother's name. Oh, poor you. You must be so devastated. You are the idiot. He's done everything for you out of kindness, but he's not obligated to do everything for you. He's not your actual father, so he's not duty-bound to help you with your house. If you think he is duty-bound, then he is your father, and you should understand why he wants you to share his name. You can't have it both ways. Why is changing the last name such a big deal? Women are expected to do it all the time. I guess it's only men whose heritage and identity that are important. Everyone's the idiot here. You can't expect him to pay for a house as if he's your dad without legally showing you see him as your father. He's an idiot for putting this as a condition first, but he's not your dad. He doesn't owe you a house. Either save up for it yourself or change your last name. 38 male. I am single and childless by choice, but am close with my family, especially my niece and nephew, 18 female, Stephanie, and 18 male, Alexander. I own a small business near a major university that caters to students. It's mostly a bookstore specializing in discount textbooks, but we also sell coffee and baked goods and offer study areas. Since it's hard to find jobs that fit high schooler schedules, I've allowed Stephanie and Alexander to work at the store since they were 15. I had an offer with Stephanie and Alexander that I would either give them their payment weekly or put it in a bonus college fund for them. I recommended the college fund as it would be more useful in the long run, but it was still their choice. They could change their payment route anytime. Stephanie chose the college funds route while Alexander wanted weekly pay. Now they're 18 and going to college in the fall. Stephanie has a hefty amount saved up in her college fund. She claims it'll be enough to cover 3 years at her chosen university. She's also received several scholarships, so she can easily cover the rest with student loans. Alexander is much less responsible with money than his sister. He has virtually no savings because he'll almost immediately blow his paycheck on things he doesn't need. The longest he saved was for 3 weeks before he decided to spend it on a video game console. Alexander was accepted into his dream college, but said he was unsure how to afford it. My sister-in-law and brother were previously middle class, but lost a lot of money during the pandemic. They recently asked me if I was willing to help cover at least the first few years of Alexander's undergraduate program and how I could pay them in segments if need be. I could technically afford to, but I would need to take some of Stephanie's college fund. I told them that I thought it would be unfair to Stephanie to bail her brother out with the money she worked to save all those years. I have some of my savings, but it's an emergency fund if something happens with the store. My sister-in-law and brother were disappointed, but told me they understood. The problem is with our parents. They told me that it was selfish to leave my nephew unable to attend his dream school, and I should split the college funds. I told them that Alexander had already gotten his money. He just spent it already. They told me I should then give away my emergency savings because most teenagers aren't that great with money. And if Alexander had to leave his dream school while Stephanie could afford hers, it could cause the family to resent Stephanie. And I should, quote, prevent that rift before their relationships get hurt. But the twins have always had a good relationship with each other. And I think it's unfair that Alexander gets bailed out while his sister has to work hard. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Stephanie's college fund isn't even your money to take. She earned it working. That would be stealing her wages. If you were contemplating helping Alexander, it would need to be without touching the money Stephanie earned. As for pulling from your own emergency fund, no, this is all nonsense. Ask your parents where their contribution is. He had the same opportunity as his sister, but his choices now do not afford him the luxury of a debt-free college. This was his choice and his choice only. He can take out student loans, and since the grandparents are so concerned, they can chip in as well. All of this falls on Alexander only to solve. See how bad he wants to go to college and what he'll now do to achieve that goal. It's time he starts making better choices. Not the idiot, but you didn't contribute to her fund. You paid what you owed her. It's like saying my boss contributes to my rent. I am, however, curious about how 3 years of part-time wages added up to be enough money to cover 3 years of university for her. I, female 32, have recently inherited money from my mom. She was the only parent, and losing her is beyond devastating. The money can barely be called inheritance because my mom and her family didn't have much, but it's better than nothing. My fiancé at first said I deserved it, and I have the right to do whatever I wanted with it. However, he told his whole family about it, and then his infertile brother and his wife pulled him aside for a conversation. After that, he started talking about wanting and needing a nephew or niece, basically hinting about his brother's infertility issues, then flat out requested that I pay for his brother's and wife's IVF treatment for my inheritance money. I was taken aback initially, but then I declined. He got mad saying I was selfish because, number one, he and I are blessed never to have issues with fertility, and number two, literally have nothing to lose if I give them money, easy money that I didn't work for. This upset me to the point where I lashed out at him, telling him to stop bothering and guilting me about it. I denied the request as my final decision, but he got more agitated and went on a campaign to shame me for treating him as if he's not my future husband, and therefore gets a say or a right to my inheritance, and not giving a single crap about his family issues. What the heck? If my spouse asked me to just give it away as if it's free money, I'd be livid. Him speaking so insensitively about your mother's passing, nothing is easy about that, is another red flag. He's dismissing your experiences completely. He's putting his family's needs and wants before yours, and even asking you to do this is over the line, but he shames you for not giving in. More red flags. Please, please, please rethink this marriage. I think the inheritance was another blessing from your mother, showing you that this man is not meant to be your husband. So, maybe take a mini vacation by yourself, away from the who knows. You may actually find your soulmate there. He is showing you your future. Is this what you want? I'd ditch him and find somebody who won't treat you this way. He doesn't need a niece or a nephew. He might want one, but it isn't a need. His brother and sister-in-law need to figure out how to pay for IVF independently. How would they intend to pay for a child? Put your inheritance money in an account that your fiancé cannot touch, or else it'll magically disappear, and his brother and his wife will be getting IVF. I won't explain much about my daughter's choice, because it's ultimately not mine. My wife and I have a daughter, Jay, 23, who just graduated college a year ago. My wife and I came from a poor background and worked our butts off to give our child everything she would ever need. She's a good kid, smart, kind, and polite. She got a full ride to a good school and moved away. 2 months ago, she called us to tell us that she was pregnant, with no father in sight. My wife flipped on her, full of exaggeration and criticism. She thought our kid was throwing her life away because my daughter was eager to keep the baby and my wife wasn't okay with this. She asked me if she could come back home for a while, work locally, and overall just be around us, because she felt scared and alone in her big city and wanted to spend her pregnancy with us. My daughter didn't use much of her college fund, barely 18 to 25%, and had good savings. She's also the kind of kid who always helped around the house, so I said yes. My wife didn't have much problem with this, but ever since our daughter came back, my wife has been passive-aggressive at best. Awful comments about how she messed up her life, how naive she is for thinking she can keep going with the kid, how the beginning of a career is the most important thing, and she just ruined it. She also doesn't have any kindness for our kid, making too much noise at 5 to 6 a.m. to wake her up, not lending her a car when asked to do quick runs to the store, etc. She's just being mean. My daughter sucks it up because she thinks she owes us something for letting her stay here. Yesterday, my wife just went over the top. My daughter found a job. She's doing work from home at the moment due to her pregnancy, for months, and was excitedly telling us that after the birth, she wants to get an apartment nearby and maybe raise my grandkid here. My wife just snorted and said that if she had already messed up her life, the least she could do was do the best for the kid and move somewhere better and maybe do it now. My daughter cried because she was basically getting kicked out and my wife tried to minimize her feelings, so I told my wife to leave my house because I was done with her mean teenage behavior. She said I couldn't kick her out, but I could because the house is not marital property, so she left, and my in-laws are coming at me because everyone thinks she's right. Not the idiot. Your daughter's lucky to have you in her corner. Your wife is absolutely ridiculous and disrespectful. I hope she realizes she'll never meet her grandchild after this. You are protecting your child. All your daughter is doing is looking to her parents for support, and her own mother is being so cruel. My daughter did much the same thing as yours, Opie. She was young and alone, and came home to us determined to make the situation a good thing. Her son was born 7 months later. She has since moved out, married, had another child, and gotten her master's. She works in her chosen field and makes a pretty penny, and my grandchildren have been raised beautifully. The point is that she hasn't messed up her life. She's taking a different path than the one your wife wanted. That's all. I really don't understand why the mom is so angry. Her daughter's 23, out of college with savings and leftover college funds, and has a job. She only doesn't have a partner, but why does she even need that? Plenty of single moms are raising kids with even less than this 23-year-old. Honestly, so weird, and this reaction feels way over the top. I think it's because the mom had dreams that her daughter's life was going to be better than hers. She would have a successful career and live in a big city and escape the town where they live, and now her dreams have been shattered and she doesn't know how to deal with it. I suspect she may have some regrets in her life that she doesn't want her daughter to experience, or she's not ready to be a grandma. I'm an affair baby. I've always been pretty well aware of this, but it's not something I tell many people. My mom was young when she met my father, and she was unaware at the time of their meeting that he was married. My mom discovered the truth about him when his wife showed up one day and told my mother that she better leave town. She found out about me less than a month later and told him, and this is when his entire family found out. My mom ended up raising me on her own mostly. He and his wife stayed together, but there were times I met and was around his family because they hated that he needed to child support, and eventually my mom had to agree to say no to child support to stop him from taking me. We then moved so I wouldn't be subjected to mistreatment. My father's children told everyone, and I was in school with two of his nephews who spread the news around that I was an affair baby and my father didn't want me. I knew I was hated. My father's children were never shy about that they hated me. When she was 17, one of his daughters told me she found me repulsive and hoped I would die from a horrible disease. I haven't seen or heard from any of these people in more than 20 years. I met my husband when I was in college, and I did tell him. He was always kind and promised me nobody would treat me that way again. He also respected that I didn't want the news to go around. His family was always nice to me and asked me questions about why I only had my mom. I told them I didn't have much of a family and my father hadn't wanted me. They found out the truth in a way that they never explained to me, but a few days ago they confronted me about being an affair baby, and how could I not tell them because it was really relevant. My husband asked them why. He said none of that was my fault. They said it was not so simple as my father being a dead beef and my mom being the wronged party. My husband told them it was never any of their business. They told me I was a liar and that I'm ashamed of what I am, which is why I don't tell people. They said my character was questionable, knowing what they know now, and that lying is never the answer. I feel so bad because my husband is supporting me, and this has damaged my relationship with his family, but I also hate that this is the exact reaction I didn't want. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Why are they pinning it on you? You've done nothing wrong, and for someone to judge you for it is very strange. You didn't tell them because you didn't trust their reaction, and now that they found out, they're proving you right. So, tell them that all the trust you had in them is spent. One thing I've learned from my life experiences of being an affair baby is many people see someone like me as being dirty or tainted for being conceived the way we were. I was born in the South, and I found a lot of that where I was born. It's treated like an inherited part of who will be as well, and many people are disgusted by us for that very reason. Tell them my father and his side of the family were terrible people who were the wrong ones here. He cheated on his wife, and I was the result. His family bullied my mother and me out of our hometown. Gee, I wonder why I don't like peeling back that scab to show you all the ugly bitch you feel entitled to. Not telling you isn't the same as lying. Your reaction is exactly why I don't like telling people. OMG, I'm fuming on your behalf. Whatever happened in your past has absolutely nothing to do with this family. It's none of their business. You haven't caused this damage. They have by snooping, being so judgmental, and invading your privacy. Hold your head up high, honey. You've done nothing wrong. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Hello, everyone. Today, I have a story that is as heart-wrenching as it is shocking. It's about the complex dynamics of family relationships and the unexpected choices people make. This is Mom's New Husband Made Me Feel Unwanted. My revenge years later shocked them both. Get ready for a tale that will keep you on the edge of your seat as we dive into the intricacies of love, acceptance, and standing up for what is right. A teen female, graduated high school a year early and decided instead of taking a break, I wanted to start college immediately. So I did a semester at a community college last year just to get ahead. And now I moved on to campus to finish my degree. I lived with my mom, 42, and her husband, Ryan, 48, halfway through high school because my siblings, Amy, tween, and Liam, pre-tween, wanted me around. And I wanted to see them too before I started doing adult stuff and got too busy to come around as often. As much as I loved being near my brother and sister, I hated living in the same house as Ryan because he and his family weren't shy about the fact that they didn't really like me. When he and my mom first got together, it was like I was being purposely excluded from everything he and his family would invite us to. On holidays, I'd have a seat at the table, but no one would really talk to me. I'd be asked to take pictures instead of being in them. And anytime I try to make an effort to be included, I was always told that it was just for the family, not me. It got worse when they had my siblings, because then I'd have to sit on the sidelines and watch as my brother and sister were enthusiastically accepted and wanted by Ryan's family. At the same time, they made it blatantly obvious that they didn't want anything to do with me. Sometimes Ryan would schedule family outings, but find a way to leave me at home, or he'd just say I wasn't invited. The last straw was when Ryan's sister got my mom a Mother's Day gift a few years ago. It was a locket with a picture of my brother and sister in it. And she said it was so my mom could always have her two children close to her heart. My mom didn't say anything about me. She didn't even glance in my direction. So I stopped trying and just accepted that I'd never be a real part of her new family because I just wasn't wanted there. I'd been slowly packing my things up for the past year, either taking them to my dad's house or getting them ready to go to my dorm. So on Saturday, when the move-in day started, I put everything I planned on taking into my car and drove myself to campus. My dad met me there, and we decorated my room together. My mom thought I was just spending the weekend with my dad. So when I told her that I wasn't going to be coming back during the week because I'd moved in already, she got really upset. I mentioned the dates to her weeks ago, but I guess she forgot. And she ended up assuming I was having a regular weekend. She said it was hurtful that I would exclude her from this huge moment in my life. And that is my mom. It's her job to be there for this journey and me. I told her that she'd been letting her husband exclude me from her life since the day they started dating. And because that never seemed to bother her, I didn't think it'd be a big deal for me to do it too. I felt justified in this at first, but I could tell I hurt her feelings. And now I'm starting to think I'm maybe the idiot. Not the idiot. She allowed you to be cut out of her new family. So next time she calls, ask her how many children she wears next to her heart and then go live your best life. Actions have consequences. Mom now has the consequences. Yeah. Why she never said, oh, but I have 3 children or OP's family, they should be in this picture or event. She chose to leave you out because it would ruin the harmony of her new family. Your mom didn't want to start anything negative with Ryan, and your relationship suffered. Her finally noticing when it's too late is not your guilt to carry. It's her and Ryan's. What's particularly annoying about the stepdad's family is that OP is only 8 years older than the first half-sibling. So she was likely just 6 or 7 when her mom and Ryan married, possibly even younger. So who the heck treats a small child like that and continues to exclude the child over the years? My best guess is Ryan has a lot of money and mommy doesn't want to rock that boat. OP, you had told your mother the date you would be moving onto campus several times. So she would have remembered it if it was important to her to be there. I'm sorry, but your mom reaped what she sowed. My 27 female best friend, Kathy, 26 female, is a professional wedding planner and has helped host hundreds of weddings. We've grown up together, and having a professional help me with a wedding free of cost was ideal. I made sure to shower her with gifts to repay her for the help she offered throughout the journey. Now the wedding is in a month, and in 2 weeks it's my bachelorette weekend. Kathy notified the other girls and me of all she had arranged and which Airbnb she booked, but she said she didn't want to participate, which came as a shock to me because how are you gonna plan everything but not participate? The girls told me she had a very valid reason, but it was not their story to tell. So I should ask her directly. I asked her and she replied, look, you've made some requests for your bachelorette party and I respect everything you want to do, but there are some things that are off limits for me and some of the stuff, such as the male dancers I've booked for you, and some other activities are crossing boundaries regarding me and my own fiancé's relationship. So I made sure to arrange everything perfectly, just how you and the girls wanted it to be, but sadly it's not something I want to be involved in. I hope you have the greatest fun. I was heartbroken and tried to suck it up, but as the days went by, I got more upset. Instead of feeling more at ease with that thought, I tried to talk to her about it to change her mind, but she wasn't having it. She later also said that just to warn me, she won't drink at the wedding because she doesn't want to get sick since she's very lightheaded. I got very disappointed, and at that moment I straight up told her I didn't want her as a maid of honor if all she was gonna do is be a buzzkill about everything regarding my wedding and how she could attend as a simple guest. She got very upset and thought it was unfair of me to exclude her for these reasons. The rest of my bridesmaids now also believe that I took it too far and how her skipping the trip for personal or not drinking alcohol is not something that would ruin my wedding, and I'm just overreacting. Am I the idiot? So let me get this straight. Your so-called best friend, who typically gets paid to plan weddings, has been planning yours free of charge, and you kicked her out of the wedding party because she personally opted out of the club and drinking with no pressure on anybody else to do the same. Yep, you're the idiot. I'm surprised that a mature and gracious woman is somehow best friends with a shallow party animal, and situations like this have never come up before. I wonder if Opie's idea of best friends and grew up together is quite the same as others. At best, I guess they were kids together and then separated for college, and Kathy grew up and Opie didn't. At worst, I suspect Opie's definition of best friend is someone who'll listen to me chatter on about my life. You are the idiot. She did a fantastic job of planning everything for you the way you wanted, even though she wouldn't get to enjoy it. She was not judgmental of what you wanted, just politely bowed out because it was beyond her boundaries, but you've decided the main criteria for being your friend is enjoying getting drunk. So good luck with the rest of your adult life and marriage. I'm sure it's all going to work out great. This happened at my wedding. I am detail-oriented and meticulously planned our wedding with my husband. Everything was color coordinated and everything was aesthetically pleasing. Our colors were pink and black. I wanted my parents and grandparents also to wear our wedding colors so the wedding photos would be cohesive. I specifically spoke with each person and told them the color scheme and how I'd like everyone to color coordinate. No one had an issue with this, so I thought. Both sets of husband's grandparents went out shopping to find clothes to match our wedding party. I thought that was so cute and appreciated it immensely. My mom and I went shopping for my grandparents because they asked us to, so they were also matching. I offered to take my mother-in-law shopping to pick out something to wear, but she declined and said she'd go with her friends. I said okay and kind of forgot about it. On the night of the rehearsal, my mom asked my mother-in-law what she's wearing, and she responds with a long dress in the wedding colors. The next day I'm getting ready in the bridal suite and my mother-in-law moseys on in and is wearing a royal purple ball gown. She doesn't wear makeup that often, and I was shocked to see she was wearing neon blue eyeshadow and bright pink lipstick. Also, her husband wore a matching tie. I was livid but ignored it because I didn't want it to ruin my big day. My father-in-law asked me how he looked during pictures and I responded, "You and mother-in-law stick out like big sore purple thumbs." He asked what that meant and I told him he knew the dress code. Now they look out of place. He said he wore what was given to him and would relay the message to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law approached me later in the night and asked me about my issue. I asked her why she lied about her outfit choice. She said she never bought a dress that would go with our wedding colors and plans on wearing the purple dress she found. It was more true to her, and that's what mattered. I said, "That's fine. I'll fix the pictures in post-production." She said I wouldn't adjust anything. They paid for the pictures, and I would not alter anything. I said any picture I post with her in it will be altered on my end, so they have no control over what I do. I excused myself and enjoyed the rest of my wedding. My mother-in-law has a habit of making things about her and making little comments like, "Well, I'm the mother of the groom. My opinion counts, or I can make decisions too. I'm the groom's mother, and we are helping pay for this wedding. My parents paid for 70% of the wedding. My in-laws paid for the photographer and the rehearsal dinner. The photographer was their friend and only charged them $800 for the whole night. The rehearsal dinner cost $300 because they chose the cheapest options for everything possible." So, am I the idiot for how I spoke to my mother-in-law and father-in-law? Not the idiot. Her big eyesore didn't turn out the way she wanted. Those are your photos, not hers. If they didn't intend those photos as a gift, meaning you get free reign, then they should have made that clear way before the wedding. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like mother-in-law purposely chose to pay for the photographer so she could pull this stunt at your wedding. Mother-in-law missed her opportunity to show up in all-black funeral attire and be technically justified by the color scheme. Amazing. She must not have thought of it. Your mother-in-law is an attention seeker. Go ahead and alter the pictures. Just to be funny, why not alter one picture so everyone wears purple and mail that to her? Everyone's the idiot here. You all sound exhausting. Whether the attention-seeking or the micromanaging, are wedding color codes a new thing? Are they an American thing? Mother-in-law obviously finds you insufferable and fired back. Her choice was obnoxious and just made her look bad. She so clearly wanted to look out of place, let her. It's not like you'll be hanging a picture with her in it over your bed. Instead, display the pictures with your husband and have a chuckle at mother-in-law's immaturity while you work on letting go and unclenching a bit. My daughter, teen, has a 529 that my ex-husband and I set up and have been paying into. She has about 73K in there for her college. My husband and I broke up amicably, so we still have been contributing jointly. My current husband and I started dating 6 years ago and got married 3 years ago. His son, 18, is attending college this fall and is paying out of pocket. He and his ex-wife apparently didn't save anything for his son, and so he has to take out loans. He brought up the idea of splitting my daughter's college fund with his son because she's a few years from needing it, so he thought I could take out half of what I put in to give to him. I told him I've been paying for my daughter way longer than we've been together, and she knows there's money set aside for her schooling. No one is entitled to it but her. He laughed it off and accused me of being too serious. Last night, though, he brought it up again and got more demanding, saying his son will be stuck with a ton of debt and I've known him since he was 12 and I should help. I told him he had to help his son, and I never agreed to help him pay for college, especially not through my daughter's fund. He got angry and accused me of not loving his son, otherwise I would be sharing the college fund, and drove off. He came back after a few hours and apologized, and then this afternoon, after work, he brought up me helping his son with college again, which I shot down, and he got angry at me again. Not the idiot. His poor planning is not your problem. He's had 18 years to plan. His son isn't entitled to the fund you and your ex-husband are funding. Your ex-husband isn't doing that for him. He's doing it for his daughter. He could ask you to help out his son currently, but even then, if you say no, it's not fair for him to get mad. I think Opie's ex would be hugely angry, I mean erupting like Vesuvius, if the money he contributed to their daughter's college fund was diverted to some rando kid he's not related to. Opie should tell hubby that he needs to talk to his ex, to give up half of that money and let her know how that works out and draw a line in the sand. Make sure your husband knows that the money will never be going towards his son, and he should never ask again. Seriously, draw that line in the sand. I'm mad that he's already brought it up so many times. This has nothing to do about loving your stepson. You can love him with all your heart and still not screw over your daughter. My girlfriend, well, fiancé, 28 female and I, 29 male, had been dating for about 4 years and have lived together for 2. A week ago, I proposed to her, and she said yes. We are both delighted, but there's been one hang-up. Her family's very old-fashioned and traditional. After I proposed, she told me that even though she said yes, she wants me to ask her dad for permission to marry her. She told me that it's a critical tradition in her family, and even though she knows it's old-fashioned, she still wants me to do it, and she refused to announce our engagement to anyone before I did. She said that her parents would disapprove of our marriage if I didn't do this, and she didn't want to alienate her family like that. She has 2 older sisters who are both married, and their husbands both asked her dad for their hands in marriage. She has an older brother who asked his wife's dad for permission to marry her, too. It's a big thing in their family. I told her that sort of thing doesn't sit well with me, and I think it's misogynistic, patriarchal, and degrading. I told her that neither of us should have to ask anyone's permission to get married, and since she already said yes, why does it matter what her dad says or thinks? She told me that she knows it's silly and outdated, but this is how our families always operated, and it's important to them. I asked her if it's important to her, too, and she said it's important to her parents and her family, which means it's important to her. I asked her what would happen if her dad said no, and she said we could worry about that only if it happened. Now, I don't want to do that. I think it's a horribly outdated practice that removes all agency from women being able to make their own choices regarding marriage. I explained this to my fiance and told her we should just tell everyone that we're engaged and no one can do anything about it. She told me she doesn't want our engagement announced to anyone until I do this. Not to my parents, not to friends, nobody. No one else is to know we're engaged until I ask her father's permission. I refuse to do this, and I'm tempted just to tell my parents the good news because they deserve to know, but it doesn't mean anything to my fiancé or me, and it's only to placate her dad's outdated views on marriage. If he disapproves of our marriage over one stupid question, that's his problem. It doesn't change the love his daughter and I have for each other or the dedication we have to spend our lives together. I just want to celebrate our engagement with family and friends, and she's making me jump through a dumb hoop first. She had never told me that this was a requirement of getting engaged or married. She only told me I needed to ask her dad's permission after she said yes to me. When I said I wanted to announce our engagement, that was the first time she told me I needed to ask for her dad's permission. You are the idiot for calling and treating something your partner has specifically said is very important to them as a dumb hoop. I agree with your reasoning and your reluctance to do this, but family traditions that are important to your fiancé are not dumb just because you don't like them. Don't announce your engagement to anyone until your fiancé is on board. You disrespect her like that, she may well call off the engagement with good reason. Yes, it's outdated, but this is her family and you'll need to come to a compromise together. Yeah, I get it. Women aren't property. It's a silly tradition, but she's making it super clear that it's important to her. You know, the woman you love and are about to marry? Asking for his permission doesn't make things any worse for other women. If it did, I'd be 100% on your side, but it doesn't affect anyone other than you, her, and her family. Honestly, I see how it's degrading to all parties involved apart from the dad whose ego needs to be appeased. It doesn't help that women are so brainwashed into the misogynistic patriarchal traditions that they actually wanted, and it's important to them. For me, both their points of view are valid. It's important to her and her family. Opie sees it as degrading and outdated. Both are valid. They need to sit down and talk it out and see if they can find a compromise or if the Opie can make this sacrifice for her. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a story that highlights the struggles of parenting and the fine line between fairness and discipline. Imagine being caught in the middle of a sibling rivalry where one child's desire for equality turns into threats and chaos. This is a gripping tale of a mother who faced a tough decision when her daughter threatened to destroy her brother's belongings if he didn't share. Let's unravel this nerve-wracking story titled, "My daughter threatened to destroy my son's belongings if he didn't share, so I grounded her. Am I the bad parent?" Let's get started. We recently got 2 horses. My younger daughter, a young teen, wanted them, as she's been learning to ride. My older daughter, nearly adult, was against them. She's much more apprentice-wise and didn't want to deal with the mess and chores that come with horses. But we told her it wouldn't be something she'd have to deal with, and that her younger sister promised to take care of all of it. Well, recently, the older daughter's been disrespectful at home and staying out too late, and her grades have been slipping. We warned her to shape up, but last week when we heard that she'd been needlessly insulting her younger sister while I was out running errands, I told her that she'd be cleaning out the stable each day for the next week as punishment, and that her sister would get a break. She got upset and offended and said we promised she'd never have to go in there or scoop horse poop. I said I promised it wouldn't be one of your chores, of course. But obviously, punishment is supposed to be something outside of your normal chores and something you won't like, and I thought it was perfectly fair here. She's been doing it for 3 days now, but seems very resentful of our broken promise, acting very disgusted, and keeps begging to get out of the rest of it. But I said I thought it was fair, and she was overreacting. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You bought 2 horses for your younger daughter and promised the older daughter she wouldn't have to be involved in their care. You broke your promises. There were plenty of adequate and appropriate punishments available. You could have given your daughter for staying out late and letting her grades slip. Are you deliberately trying to stir up resentment between the two sisters? Because this is how you get resentment between two sisters. Exactly. Horses are a pretty big gift. Does your oldest child get the same treatment as your youngest child? It could be resentment building up and causing her to act out, and being forced to take care of her sister's huge gift will only worsen the resentment. I was wondering the same. Horses are a huge gift. After the purchase price, there's still upkeep, vet bills, farriers, tech, and food, and not just one horse, but two. My child used to ride, and even leasing a horse cost a small fortune, but buying two? Opie, have you given the older daughter a comparable gift? This whole story reeks of favoritism. I bet money the older one hasn't gotten anything but increased chores, so the precious, perfect golden child doesn't have a thing to do. And I need more information about who said she's been needlessly insulting to her younger sister. Was it the younger sister tattling? And what is needlessly insulting? Is there such a thing as needfully insulting? And isn't that part of sibling squabbles, being needlessly insulting? And I'm sorry should suffice for that indiscretion, in my honest opinion. Your oldest daughter isn't the golden child, obviously, so you want her to be Cinderella. I, 28 male, have this friend, Charlotte, 29 female. Charlotte and I go way back. We were at a bar one night, and we just happened to get into a small argument about something personal. So, we spent a few minutes just bitterly drinking and not talking to each other when this weird guy walked up between us and started saying awful things to her. Charlotte kept glancing at me, and by the expression on her face, I could tell that she was completely frozen and wanted me to help her out. However, I was still bitter about our little disagreement, so I turned away from her, pulled out my phone, and surfed the web. That guy talked to Charlotte for about 5 minutes and said the weirdest stuff. I couldn't help but glance back at Charlotte, and it looked like she was almost about to burst into tears. I decided that enough was enough, and I told the guy to take a hike. We got into a verbal fight, but the guy eventually left. Once we were sure that the guy had left for good, and he wasn't just standing around waiting outside, I walked Charlotte back home. She just said passive-aggressive stuff like, "I hope you enjoyed yourself, and it's a good thing you took your sweet time." When we returned to her apartment, she was still angry at me. Am I the idiot? Oh God, you are the idiot. You held so much power in this situation, and you decided to use it to let your friend remain terrified. You intentionally used this to hurt her, not just petty normal fighting, but to allow someone else to abuse her actively. This could have put her in danger, and she knew that. She knew that you were okay with her being verbally abused while you actively decided not to help. Yeah, you're the idiot. I cannot say enough times, you're the idiot. When a woman gives you the pleading, "Get me out of here" stare, you do it, period, no matter how upset you are with her at the moment. The instant a creep harasses her, and she signals you, you help. Heck, even if you don't know her, and she's being clearly harassed, step in. This is how bad things happen, because no one steps in. The actual heck, dude, did you really need the whole internet to tell you you're the idiot here? You're her friend, and you just watched that happen and listened? I dealt your friends much longer. I hope your mild argument with Charlotte was worth losing a friendship over. You broke so many friend codes by doing that. Who needs enemies with a friend like you? My daughter, kindergartner, has some severe food intolerances. Eating the wrong thing frequently ends in a hospital visit. She has snack time at school, where the kids bring in their own snacks. I found a really fun snack for her online that she can actually eat, and I've been sending that in with her for months. On Tuesday, when I opened her bag, I found that the snack was there untouched, so I asked her why. She told me it was too tough for her to open. I asked her about the previous weeks, and she told me that her teacher used to help her, but doesn't anymore. I encouraged her to ask her teacher the next day. The next day, the snack was still unopened, and when I asked her about it, she told me that the teacher told her she needed to learn to open her snacks at snack time all by herself. So, I sent the teacher an email explaining that the snack is quite tough to open, even for adults sometimes, and that it would be super helpful if she could help my daughter open her snack when she's unable to do so. Otherwise, she has an 8-hour school day with only her lunchtime to eat. I was nice about it, but you better believe it did make me a bit angry that she'd rather let a kid go without a snack while all the other kids ate one than help a young child open a snack. I picked her up on Thursday, and she still had an unopened snack. At this point, I called the teacher to ask what was going on, and she said that their goal for the last few months of kindergarten was to promote independence, and that she couldn't do that if they had to hold the kid's hand at every turn. She said it might help if I sent my kid in with a normal snack instead of such a bizarre, difficult to open one. She's very aware of my daughter's food intolerances. At this point, I politely thanked her and called the principal, asking him to move my daughter to a different classroom. I said that it was very inappropriate to emphasize that my daughter's snacks weren't normal enough, given that she could not live a normal life. I wish I could give her some Cheetos or a pack of cookies like the other kids get, but I can't, and I just wanted my daughter to have something a little bit more fun when all the other kids were eating those things. She moved rooms, but her previous teacher sent me a message about how I've really made things difficult over a snack. Apparently, they've started an investigation and are monitoring how she interacts with the kids. Two of the moms that she knows better than me commented in the moms group chat that the way the teacher was treated in regards to this is completely unfair and that a child's food issue shouldn't be their teacher's issue to deal with. So, am I the idiot? Should I just send in a different snack? Edit. I asked a couple of times why I can't open the snack before school. For some reason, the school policy is that the snack has to be a single-serve item in a sealed package and not in a Tupperware container, and it won't allow repackaging. Also, kindergartners are not allowed to carry scissors, no exceptions. Not the idiot. If they're making requirements of how a snack is packaged, then they're responsible for ensuring said packaging is open for the child if the child has difficulties opening it, regardless of food intolerances or allergies. This has nothing to do with teaching kids independence. Yeah, I don't think letting a kid miss out on the snack time that everyone else gets when her mother gets her a snack that agrees with the school policy teaches anything other than discouraging her from asking for help in the future. This teacher sounds lazy or entitled. I can't believe some parents are taking her side. Also, for the teacher to contact you afterward and complain about your concerns was really unprofessional. I teach high school students who need help with opening stuff sometimes or fixing things, and sometimes I ask them for help too. While I understand the need for teaching independence, I feel like this was a weird hill to die on due to dietary restrictions. Also, I hope you've screenshotted the conversation of the mothers moaning and shared that with the principal, as that shows the teacher's been gossiping. A coworker started to develop feelings a month into knowing me. Let's call him Gray. It may not be something too deep, so I was flattered. I told him I wasn't interested since I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship. A month after this rejection, Gray asked me to be his girlfriend. Again, I rejected it. He said it was cool, but he'd appreciate it if I didn't cut him off. I didn't, as he was a nice friend to have. I had to reiterate to him more than once after this that there was no chance I was reciprocating the feelings at all. One day, one of my closer coworkers let me know that Gray would ask her what my plans for the day were, and if I had any, he'd ask her where I'd be going and who I'd be with. He'd also ask her if I was hanging around any other male coworkers. One time when we were out to lunch with our team, our boss gave us the rest of the day off. That meant we'd be free to go home or hang out after lunch. I told everyone I'd be off home, as I was too tired. He offered to bring me home, and I declined. He snapped and started almost begging me to bring me home, but I just kept declining. He said then, "Fine, let me book you a taxi," and proceeded to type my address correctly when I knew for a fact that I never gave him my address. I was majorly uncomfortable at this point. He's done weirder things over the past year, stalking my family on social media, memorizing usernames of my closer friends on IG. He even found an old account I wasn't using anymore, shipping products he bought online directly to my address, even getting in a taxi and following me home. When I confronted him about it, he said he was just ensuring I was safe. Last week, while preparing to go home, it started to rain, so he insisted on bringing me home on his motorcycle. He followed me around the office saying, "Please let me bring you home." We were around other coworkers, but I snapped at him and told him to screw off and leave me alone in a relatively high voice. A coworker who was aware of the stories I told above overheard and told me I didn't have to react that way. I talked to a non-coworker friend about it, and he told me that this might be Gray's way of winning me over. Now I'm worried that I'm just viewing him as annoying and stalkerish because I didn't reciprocate the feelings and went off on him when he was being kind. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'd say report him to HR. Stay away from him. He thinks he's Superman. See what he has on. That's not a cape. That's a frigging red flag. Also, screw that idiot coworker who told you not to react that way. They obviously don't understand or care about your situation if they know the stories and expect you to always be calm. Majorly angry at that scene extra. Anyways, report him. Tell your family about him so that they can be aware and beware of him and his presence. Get a dog if you don't have one. Keep some self-defense stuff. This could escalate as time goes by. Do not give him a chance. This. OP, you're being stalked. Go to HR. Let them know you only want him to talk to you about work. He's not to offer you a ride home. If you see him follow you home or near your house, you will get a restraining order. Tell them if the company can't handle him, you're going to the police. And before you go to HR, I would write down everything that's happened, even if you don't remember the dates. Then I'd make a copy for them and for you. The most concerning part of this story is that he knows your address, but you never told him. Following you home is unacceptable and grounds for a restraining order in some jurisdictions. I'm sure he thinks he's winning you over, but that doesn't make it okay. This is way over the line, not just some awkward workplace flirting. Oh, I doubt he thinks he's winning her over. At this point, it's just pressure to get her to break and to give in while making that effort to be seen as having good intentions. The scene with the taxi was a power move. I know where you live and I need to illustrate that you don't get your own choice here. Either way, I know you're home. OP, you're in a very dangerous situation. You need to make HR aware and start documenting these instances so you have evidence to take to the police. This is going to get much worse before it gets better. Update. I've told my coworker, the one he asked about my plans, if she would support me in bringing this to HR. But it turns out she's already kind of tipped them off at his behavior. By this, I mean she's mentioned it vaguely to a friend from HR because she didn't want to get ahead of me. And HR said that the complaint had to come from me for them to be able to do something about it. So she would be supporting me in filing a complaint. Thank you all for your concern and for pulling me out of downplaying the situation. My son, Henry, divorced his wife, Rachel, a year ago. Their divorce wasn't exactly messy, but it wasn't easy either. I stay in contact with Rachel for my granddaughter's sake. My granddaughter's a preteen and Rachel also has another daughter, Amy, 3 years older than my granddaughter, who's not my son's child. She was from a past relationship Rachel had. Now, the thing is, Amy grew up calling me grandma for pretty much her whole life. I treated her exactly the same as I did my biological granddaughter. I'd always take candy for both of them, give them both a little bit of pocket money and hugs and love, and still do love Amy as much as I do my granddaughter. As far as I'm aware, she's my second granddaughter. When my son and his wife divorced, I stayed in contact with his now ex-wife to contact my granddaughter, and Amy has her own mobile phone. I also have her phone number and stay in contact with her occasionally. She still calls me grandma as well. I didn't think this would be a problem. However, last week when it was Amy's birthday, I gave Rachel some money to buy her a present for me. She was thankful, bought her a gift, wrapped it, and sent me a picture of her opening it. Later that day, my son came around to visit me and my phone rang. Amy called to say thank you for your birthday present. My son told me he found it inappropriate for me to talk to his ex-wife and her daughter when she was not my granddaughter. He said I have absolutely no reason to be in contact with either of them, as I see my biological granddaughter regularly, and that she's the only who's family. So, his ex-wife and Amy, who are no longer family, have no reason for me to be in contact with them. I disagree, as I only speak to Rachel about my granddaughter, and I speak to Amy as, for the last 10 years, I've been treating her exactly the same as my biological granddaughter. It would be unfair now to no longer have contact with her, after so long. Am I the idiot for staying in contact with them both? I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong. I never discuss my son with either of them. I simply check in and see how they are. Not the idiot. He's been in this girl's life for 10 years, and he's not staying in touch, and doesn't seem to care or worry about her. That should be the issue here. Be careful he doesn't decide to not let you see your other granddaughter, just because he doesn't agree with you. Your son is a major idiot, though. Amy's been a significant part of your lives for 10 years, and your son is upset that you still talk to her and treat her with kindness, instead of dropping her out of your life entirely, as though she doesn't matter at all. Is he demanding you do that to a literal child? No wonder his wife divorced him. What a selfish, spiteful idiot. Agree. That's a lot of time to form a bond beyond a casual relationship. Your son is selfish, thinking his anger towards his ex is more important than your love for the children. He cannot tell you to change your priorities. I understand that your son is hurting, but you're only demonstrating love for the kids. Once again, the father's in the movie Clueless. You divorce wives, not children. Grandma gets it, but dad does not. Grandma, carry on. Family's not necessarily defined by blood. If you and Amy believe you're grandma and granddaughter, then you are. Don't let anyone say otherwise. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. If this story resonated with you or sparked any thoughts, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking stories and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you have a story of your own that you'd like to share, drop it in the comments or send it to us. We'd love to feature it in a future video. Thanks for watching, and